So a lot of you have been asking me a lot of good questions that maybe don't need a whole video made out of it, so I thought I'd do a couple just kind of question and answer things where you can leave me a question in the comments, and then I'll read it, research it, and then edit this video to make it look like I'm answering it off the top of my head, thus making me look super smart. So let's get right to it. Question number 1. Can you explain why the B string makes you move up a fret? Yeah, that's weird, right? When you're first starting out and you learn how to tune a guitar, maybe you learn how to tune it by like the 5th fret, like you go to the 5th fret of this string and this string. You go to the G string and you have to hold the 4th fret down on the G string to get a B, right? So a guitar is tuned to fourths for the most part, as we call it. Like the thickest string is the low E string, right? And a fourth of E, if you count through the major scale, E is 1, E, F, G, A. So fourth of E is A, you get the A string. If A is 1, A, B, C, D, you get the D string. If D is 1, D, E, F, G, you get the G string. If G is 1, G, A, B, C, right? So if you keep going in line, it should be a C, but it's actually a B, which can be kind of confusing and can mess you up a lot. Like if you're doing like an arpeggio or something and you want to start here, but you want to do it an octave higher, you have to compensate by moving up or back a fret depending on which way you're going. Now the reason that this is not like actually one single reason. Like standard tuning on a guitar didn't just kind of happen, like no one just created it. It was kind of a compromise that evolved over a long time. So I think the easy answer is just chords and chord shapes. A big part of the guitar are chord shapes, specifically bar chords, right? If you had straight fourths all the way down, it would be E, A, D, G, C, and F. And actually a lot of people tune their guitar like that. It's just it's like a fourths tuning is what it's called. And it's really good for playing kind of single note leads and stuff like that because every single thing becomes a repeatable shape regardless of which fret or string you root on. Now the reason we don't use that for chords is because you take like a standard chord right here, you'd have to really contort your hand and start stretching things out a lot. Also, on top of that, the open strings aren't going to help you out in as many different keys. The actual, connection between the notes E, A, D, G, and B, and having an extra E string is really helpful for a lot of different things. And especially when you're taking like a smaller, like a 3-note triad chord, like let's just take this G major bar chord right here. It's really helpful to have a low G and a high G to kind of fill out that melody and make it a very G-ish G chord, right? So that's why a lot of what I stress is taking little pieces of chords and using the B string being kinked or offset as an advantage to how you're playing. Another thing it helps with is being able to play scales within one hand position, like the every fret gets its own finger type thing. If you went fourths all the way down, you'd have to start moving and stretching and kind of leaving a bass. So it really was just a compromise between a lot of different people, and they decided that it was a good tuning to have that really facilitated hand-shaped chords and scales. What is an inversion in music? Great question. So this has a pretty easy answer. An inversion is just, most of the time you're talking about a chord with inversion, is a chord in which you're not playing the root note first. Now, I think it'll make more sense to see it on a piano first. Piano is a great visual complement to guitar because everything is laid out in sequential order, right? So if we have a C major chord on a piano, it's just a C, an E, and a G. And it's kind of like a shape, but guitar is more of an instrument of shapes. This is more of an instrument of just seeing the notes laid out, right? So the root position C major is a C first, then an E, then a G. Now an inversion is anytime we play this chord without playing the C first. Any combination of those notes, no matter how many notes you have, is going to give you that chord, right? So instead of taking this C, if we get the next highest C, and we start with an E, that's called the first inversion. We could even go one farther by starting with a G, then getting the C and the E here. And that's called the second inversion. So there are only 2 inversions you can have for a 3-note chord, right? So the first one, the second one, and the third one. And really the first one being the root position, the second one being the first inversion, the third one being the second inversion, right? Now, where this is really helpful on a piano is when you want to transition chords easily. Like if I want to go from a C major to a G major, jumping here can be kind of a little bit of a journey, especially if I have to do it really fast, right? So what I'll do here is if I have a C, an E, and a G, I can see the 5th note of my C chord being the root note of my G, and then just moving this down to make a B a D a G and a G inversion. So that's why I kind of think inversions are a little more applicable on a piano, but you can do the same thing on a guitar, and I'm going to show you right now. On a guitar, the same principle applies. So let's take a C major chord and like the regular voicing right here, okay? So the first note that you usually play is the 3rd fret on the A string, which is a C. And the second note that you play is the 2nd fret on the D string, which is an E, and then you have the open G string, so C, E, G. Just like on a piano, it just goes in order. Now, you can make an inversion with this a couple different ways. If you wanted to make a thicker, fuller inversion, you can move your ring finger up a string, which now is playing a G first, it's playing the 5th first, and then throw your pinky down back on that C. Root position, an inversion. The one with the G sounds a little bit fuller, right? Another way you can actually make it easier, you can just play the bottom 3 strings. So another way to play a G rooted, well not, a C inversion with the G first, is hitting the open G string and just hitting the bottom 3 strings, right? So that's actually kind of the easiest chord you can play. One of the easiest chords you can play on a guitar is just playing a C major chord, but just hitting these, making an inversion. How do you stay so handsome and young at your age? No homo. Egbert, you're too kind. And first of all, no homo taken. I guess really just comes down to clean living and rock and roll and 10 hours of basketball a week. Another thing I wanted to do is maybe give you kind of like some listening homework so you can kind of hear different guitar players and artists that kind of have different styles and different things to look out for. So what I wanted to do is turn you on to a guitar player I just saw live recently who's like amazing. His name is Keb Mo, and he started out as a session player, and he's just like this awesome blues player. And I feel like a lot of modern blues players are very like showy shred type players, but what I noticed instantly from this guy is he's got a great sense of melody, and he doesn't play a lot of flashy guitar stuff, but it sounds really cool and unique. So definitely I'm going to link to some of his cooler videos in the description, and let me know what you think. And also, I just wanted to say thank you for all the overwhelming support and positive comments that you guys have been giving me. And I'm really happy to help with any questions you might have. So definitely hit me up in the comments or on the channel page or whatever. And yeah, I'll do another video soon. Thanks.